Hi, thanks for coming. It's been snowing all day. It's the 17th of January, 2022. And Rosalie had texted and asked me if I would talk about the Yamas and Niyamas and maybe the whole 8 limbs. So repeat after me. Yamas, Niyamas, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Those are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga yoga was named after the philosophy in the hopes that we would remember the philosophy. The philosophy of Ashtanga yoga is covered in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and we just said them. The yamas are considered the great vow. They are observances on how to take care of everything that you do not consider yourself. So it's how to take care of other. That's kind of it. And we'll go over those 5 in a second. The niyamas are how to take care of yourself and anything, and whatever definition that is, how to take care of yourself. And there's 5 of those. Asana is the fact that you are physical, or the fact that you have a physical body, the fact that there is mass in the universe. Pranayama is the fact that you are energetic, the fact that there is energy in the universe. Pratyahara is change. Dharana and Dhyana are very close together. Asana and Pranayama are very close together. Dharana and Dhyana are very close together. Dharana is focus with effort. Dhyana is focus that the effort has fallen away, effortless focus. And then Samadhi is bliss, liberation, enlightenment, however you like to try to put a word on that sensation. Okay, so back to the yamas. There's 5 yamas: ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. Ahimsa, anytime there's an A in front of the word, it kind of means not that. So ahimsa, himsa is harm or violence or meanness. So ahimsa is non-harming or non-violence. And it's kind of the A number 1 yama. So ahimsa is non-violence or non-harming. Ahimsa, asteya. Asteya is non-stealing. Steya means to take. Means don't take that, don't steal it. And all of these can be thought about on very different levels of grossness to subtleness. So stealing could be, don't steal houses, don't steal cars, don't steal attention, don't steal energy. This is just a random thing, but when people are doing puja and they're offering flowers, you're not supposed to smell the flower before you offer it, because you will steal some of the smell. And the gods and goddesses, one of the things that they still have access to is smell, since they're not on this physical plane. Anyway, okay, ahimsa, asteya, non-harming, non-stealing, aparigraha, non-hoarding, not being greedy. Graha is to grasp. And pari, I don't really remember what pari means right now. But anyway, non-stealing, non-grasping, non-hoarding. Non-stealing is asteya. Don't take more than you need is a parigraha. So aparigraha, don't hoard. A lot of these are just things that, like don't do that. All of the yamas and niyamas are meant to make our life more easy. And with this ease, we have space for meditation. Because even though the first definition I gave you of all of these is kind of broad, really, meditation is often the whole point of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So anyway, okay, so aparigraha. The next one is ahimsa, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya, ahimsa. Satya. I missed satya. Satya is truthfulness. There we go. Sat means truth, truthfulness, and all of these things, again, they can be subtle or gross, like, tell the truth. We all learn that when we're a kid. And then it gets to be like, well, should I tell the truth if it's unkind? No one knows the answer for that, except each one of us individually in the moment. So these are just like polishing us so that when we're in the world, things go more smoothly. And when we're interacting with our communities and society, when we're interacting, if things go more smoothly, then we are in a better state of mind to be able to meditate. Okay, so ahimsa, asteya, aparigraha. I miss satya again. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means celibacy. It also means keeping your energy to yourself, continence. Like, keep your energy to yourself, because when you put it out there, you can knock someone else off their path. And then that becomes an entanglement. Maybe it becomes an entanglement of our energy, even if we don't know that it really happened. I'm not sure about that. I'm usually going to say no to that idea. Anyway, so those are the 5 yamas: ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. Non-harming, truthfulness, satya. Asteya is non-stealing. Aparigraha is greedlessness, not taking more than you need, non-hoarding. And then brahmacharya is keep your energy to yourself so that you are not creating waves out there that then take up your time so you can't meditate. All right, those are the yamas. The niyamas are Socha, Santosha, Svadhyaya, Tapas, Ishvara, Pranidhana. Socha, Santosha, Svadhyaya, Tapas, Ishvara, Pranidhana. Socha is cleanliness, and this is the list of how to take care of yourself. Cleanliness on a larger scale is whether you carry a bag or a purse or a backpack or a wallet. Is your wallet clean? Is your purse clean? Is your backpack, is it organized? Is it neat? Sorry, I'm gonna have to pause for a second here. Sorry about that. Okay, niyamas. Socha, cleanliness. Everything from the house, the car, the yoga studio, the bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen, like material things, clean. 2, subtleness of being able to have cleaner thoughts and cleaner responses, cleaner emotions, always polishing and getting rid of anything that's unnecessary or not useful anymore. So Socha, cleanliness, just like ahimsa is the first yama, and it's like a number 1, non-harming. Socha is the first niyama, and it is the big one, like cleanliness. If I used to take one of these, either a yama or niyama, and really work with it for a few months at a time, 2 months to 6 months, whatever. And I would just put that lens on and see how is the cleanliness going? How is the cleanliness going? Anyway, Socha, Santosha is contentment. And that's I love that one. That's important because in order to have any kind of a meditation practice, there has to be enough contentment that the mind is able to be quiet and not just quiet, but also be spontaneous and playful and happy. So contentment. Usually when I'm doing these conversations, I'm bouncing off of people, like people can ask a question. So me just talking about it, I don't really have that much to say about contentment other than it might be my favorite out of everything. And what would be the gross level of contentment? I think it might be being content in my body, being content in my work, being content when I'm doing manual labor or physical activities. Obviously, you can tell by the tree. I just shoveled and I loved it. Anyway, I don't think that you have to be super excited about everything, but I do think that a level of contentment makes every single other thing so much easier. Okay, Socha, cleanliness, Santosha, contentment, Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya has two translations. One is study of scripture. And if you like to study scripture, go with that one. It's amazing. And otherwise, it's self-study. And I think that the reason that those two translations are into the one word is because when people read scripture, they identify with the situation and they, extrapolate. And there's a lot of metaphors and things like that. So really it is self-study. Self-study. Okay, so I actually think this one is really important. It is not self-criticism. It is not perfection. Yoga, yoga is, does yoga have a goal? My yoga does not have a goal, but it used to. So maybe that's why I don't anymore. Yoga has to do with a level of meditation, which I'm at the level of contentment. If I'm content, I'm like, okay, I'm good. That's amazing. For me, contentment, that's samadhi. I'm fine. Anyway, Socha Santosha Svadhyaya, self-study. It's not about self-perfection. And it's definitely not about self-deprecation. It is just, oh, here, what am I? Okay, here's a really good example. This is Svadhyaya. When I used to go into the yoga posture where hands were up the back in prayer, and then you lean over toward one leg, and then you switch sides and lean over toward the other leg, Parsvottanasana, when I would go into that posture, every single time I would think about my bank account. And then after a while, I was like, oh, in this posture, I always think of my bank account, which is not what I want to be thinking about, whether it's huge or not huge, is not what I want to be thinking about during my practice. So first I just had to notice it and go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. It's a habit. It's a habitual thought. And it's so habitual that I didn't even know it was habitual for like a couple of years. And then I noticed it. And then I thought, this isn't what I want to be doing. And somehow or other, I erased that just by noticing it. So that's kind of sounds like perfection because I got more comfortable, or I just got rid of something I didn't want. There's a lot of getting rid of because we're constantly accumulating things, other people's opinions, other people's ideas, and other people are great, but you have to have enough space to get your own, get your own going. Let me think of an example of Socha Santosha Svadhyaya, self-study, or maybe I added something. Oh, what about going to bed earlier? That's been easier during quarantine lately. Everything has been a little bit calmer, actually. Going to bed earlier, maybe adding something into my food intake. Oh, taking my vitamins like more regularly. Also easier during quarantine. Anyway, Svadhyaya, self-study. You don't even have to have change come from it. It can just be, here's one. Oh my gosh, I like to wear flannel. Huh. I didn't know I liked to wear flannel because I would never wear this when I used to go out all the time. But this old shirt, this old flannel shirt that I have has become like my everyday shirt now. Anyway, I think that Svadhyaya sometimes can accidentally fall into perfection, which perfection is in the future. Like that's just a concept that isn't really pertinent to staying in the moment. So it's not that. And I think it can also, self-study can also be like ego building, like, oh my gosh, I'm so great. I have these amazing thoughts, or I have these great ideas, or, and it's like, well, don't get too caught up in that either. I'm talking to myself. It's fun to have ideas, and it's fun to act on some of them. But really just noticing, that's all Svadhyaya is. It's just notice how you exist. Notice your tendencies. Notice what makes you happy. Notice what makes you calm. Notice what makes you anxious. Notice, just notice. Okay, that's Svadhyaya. Tapas is purification through heat. And by heat, it could be heat like when you're practicing Ashtanga yoga, the asana and pranayama practice, where you get sweaty and you're, opening your body and using your body in new ways. It could also just be general discomfort of confrontation or evaluation, or, sometimes, this sounds so random. Sometimes we do things because we really want the end. We want the end product, right? So like we go through college so that we can have a career in a certain field, or we make ourselves, just adhere to other people's ideas of protocol. And I personally, I get really stressed out whenever I take first aid classes, especially the compression class. I don't even know what it's called. It stresses me out so much. The breathing class, resuscitation. Anyway, those classes stress me out because I just think I'm going to do it wrong on a dummy. But just someone else telling me like, oh, your timing's off, or you have to, I don't know, tilt the dummy's head more or whatever. And also I'm just thinking this is such a waste of my time because I am not going to remember to do this. And I've taken them now 4 or 5 times, and every single time it's super stressful for me. And it's been for a job that I've wanted to keep. So I just put myself through it. I end up passing. And now that I've gone through it 4 or 5 times and I'm 750 years old, I might be able to do it. I might be able to do it if I needed to. I mean, I think I would try, but like the perfection of it, like you need to get an A+ compared to someone's in front of you, you need to save their life. Like, hopefully I could help with the saving of the life, but the perfection of the test really stresses me out. So tapas. Sometimes we put ourselves in situations, or sometimes a relationship turns in a direction that is unexpected and suddenly it's uncomfortable, or maybe it's been uncomfortable and suddenly we recognize that. And tapas is just that pressure of being alive, and the idea that every time we face something strenuous, whether we choose it, Milk Bubba used to talk about choosing his austerities. So I was a vegetarian, and he said, oh, vegetarian is your austerity. And I thought, no, I just like being a vegetarian. But it wasn't as easy. I mean, it was super easy by the time I met Milk Baba, but it wasn't that easy the first year I was a vegetarian because, you know, no one was used to me being a vegetarian. Everyone was asking me why I was doing it. Was I getting enough protein? And at that time, 750 years ago, um, uh, there weren't that many vegetarian options on menus and things. Now, oh my gosh. Now I just saw, I think Kentucky Fried Chicken has Beyond Chicken and Burger King has Beyond Burgers or Impossible Burgers. I think they have Impossible. Anyway, I don't know what they have, but it's all now you can go to a fast food restaurant and get vegetarian food. That is crazy. That's actually really unexpected. Okay, so tapas, anything you go through that is uncomfortable and you have to, like there's pressure to it and you have to either stay focused or, you know, kind of hold yourself together in some manner. And it could be physical. So, okay, so anyway, Milk Baba was, we'll just pretend I was interrupted. Milk Baba was talking about choosing his austerities and that there's a certain amount of karma coming at us during this lifetime. And we can choose how it comes at us. So he chose to only drink milk. And he also chose to grow his dreadlocks out. And he also chose to walk barefoot. And he also chose to live at the funeral grounds for a few years. That wasn't a super long one. I mean, living outside at the funeral piers in Kathmandu, 3 years, that's a long time. I haven't done it for one night. But I'm just saying, compared to his other austerities that he picked out, that one was kind of short. So anyway, austerities and things that are uncomfortable, whether they're conversations, whether they're thoughts. Sometimes we have to like work a problem out a little bit. Hopefully not anymore. Hopefully that's over, or it's a math problem or a puzzle or like a word problem. But I know there are bigger problems than that. So anyway, tapas is purification through heat. And you know what I think tapas is really in the niyamas? I think it's just a reminder that the really uncomfortable situation is purifying us. And what is it? If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I don't really believe that, but it's funny. But that's kind of what tapas is alluding to, is whether we choose it or whether we find ourselves in it, it's okay. I don't know how reassuring that is, but that's kind of what I think tapas is. It's just, it's okay. Discomfort exists and it's going to happen and it's going to purify us and make us shinier. Okay. Socha, Santosha, Svadhyaya, Tapas, Ishvara, Pranidhana. Ishvara, Pranidhana. In the Yoga Sutras, usually when they're translated into English, and I don't know about the other languages because I don't have that many languages, especially for reading, it translates as God. Ishvara is God. Ishvara Pranidhana, always with God, always remembering God, eyes always on God. And I thought, how can this be? All of the yoga teachers are always saying, all of them, let's just talk about Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya, total genius. He said, yoga is a science. And I have a bunch of books on my shelf that are like, you know, the science of yoga, the science of breath, all of these different things saying it's science. And then here's this niyama saying eyes always on God. And I was like, whatever, I can deal with that later. Then I got this really good explanation from, I don't remember. I think it was when Kaustubh was with the Krishnamacharya Foundation and they had a newsletter. And I'm not sure where it is, but I think it's in this room somewhere. Anyway, basically what it says is this concept of God has been mistranslated, and that Ishvara is the underlying vibration of all things. They also say that about pranavam or om. Pranavam or pranava, om. It's the underlying vibration of everything that exists. And it's that vibration that all things are built on. And the other cool thing that was written about this Yoga Sutra, and I've never seen this in any of the Yoga Sutra books, is that this underlying vibration is not something that you can, is this true? No, you can do whatever you want. Okay, wait, I said that wrong. This underlying vibration does not respond to praise or pleading or suggestion, or it's just an underlying vibration that is just so pure that the whole entire universe, everything, all of the realms of light, all of the realms of darkness, everything that is held together as you know, the grandest finale of what we could comprehend. It's way past what I can comprehend. The underlying vibration is Ishvara, and that Ishvara Pranidhana is actually like a personal, just a reminder that there is something that brings the unity to everything. There is something, this one vibration that everything else is built on. It is what allows us to have a physical body, an energetic body, thoughts, concepts, conflicts, emotions, snow. Anyway, Ishvara Pranidhana, usually God is mentioned, and it's usually in the male form of God. Very seldom have I ever seen one that says goddess, which I already think that's imbalanced. So how could it possibly be true? But then I got that note, and now I told you about it. Okay, so Yamas, Niyamas, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. This is a good place to stop if you want to come back later. There's 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, and we've already gone over them, but just one more time. The yamas are ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. And the niyamas are saucha, santosha, swadhyaya, tapas, ishvara, pranidhana. Those are how to prepare yourself so that you can meditate, how to make your inner relationship and your outer relationships have enough ease and space that you have time to meditate. Because really, in the Yoga Sutras, everything is trying to get you into Samadhi. And the only door the Yoga Sutras have into Samadhi is through meditation. So, okay. Asana, the fact that you are physical. What they're really referring to usually is a meditation posture. And what they're referring to in the larger yoga culture is postures. I like Ashtanga yoga, the whole entire practice where you can kind of do pranayama and asana and meditation and, you know, layer upon layer upon layer and get it all done at one time. I know you can't really get it done, but I'm just saying it's a nice practice and I love it. So asana can be either a yoga posture or particular positions. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there's only a certain number. In other lineages, there are, you know, different numbers of possible seats for meditation, like this couch. And anyway, asana, fact that you're physical, maybe it's a yoga posture, maybe it's a particular meditative position that you like to use. And then pranayama. Pranayama has the fact to do with us being energetic. Energy is most easily manipulated and sensed on the breath. So it's usually breathing exercises to build up prana in the system. And whether the Yoga Sutras, I don't think they talk about the nadis. Whether you think that the nadi system is like, the be all end all map, or the chakra system, whichever chakra system you like, sometime I'll talk about those. Whatever you think is going on, or whether it's just how you feel, like, oh, I was drowsy and then I did this particular breathing exercise and now I feel energized, or, oh, I couldn't sleep and I did this particular breathing exercise and now I can go to sleep or cool down or warm up. Anyway, the best way, I'm going to just go with that. The best way to manipulate prana or energy is through breath. So pranayama is usually referring to a breathing exercise. And the idea is that we pack prana into our body so that our nadis, after we do pranayama, nadis are energetic tubes. I'm showing you how big this tube is getting from me practicing pranayama. So then even when we're resting, we're still like full of prana. And prana is life force energy. There's a cool story about someone that I don't remember his name. He lived in India. He was very old. Everyone loved him. He was a lot of people's guru. I think he was a Swami. And when he passed away, it was summertime. So he took Mahasamadhi. When you read Mahasamadhi, that usually means they died. So he took Mahasamadhi and they washed his body and they oiled his body and they laid him out on his bed, and people heard that he had passed away and they came to pay their respects and people were traveling from all over to pay their respects. In the summertime in India, dead body, right? Washed, oiled, and laid down in bed. 18 days later, a little bit of mold started to show up on the tip of his nose. And they were like, okay, now it's time to take care of the body. Now it's time for the funeral. That man had a lot of prana. That man had so much energy in his body, stuffed into every little space. You know how scientists are like, hey, you're more space than you are mass. All of that space, trying to fill it with light or prana. However you sense prana is great. I kind of think of it as light. Also, do you know that we glow in the dark and the cats can see that? We are actually bioluminescent, but it's not at a level that we can usually see, but it is at a level that cats can see. I know. You're going to have to look it up on the internet because I have no idea where. I probably got that off of, let's see, maybe, let's hope it was the New York Times. Anyway, okay. Yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, breathing exercises, asana, postures, or seated. And pranayama can even be, is this true? Yeah, I think it's true. Pranayama can even be observing the breath, observing the natural breath. Okay. Dharan, also everything can be huge, macro, universal, the fact that there's energy in the universe, the fact that there's matter in the universe, or it can be micro where it kind of pertains to us, or it could be really micro where it's starting to pertain to like cells or organs or something like that. Okay, Dharan, okay, Pratyahara. So it is said, I love that. It is said that the first four limbs someone else can help you with. So a guru is to help with the first four limbs, yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama. And then the last four limbs, no one can help you with. So whenever you're reading commentary on the last four limbs, don't take it as absolute fact, truth, this'll work, because those limbs are really very, very, very personal. Pratyahara on a macro level is change. Pratyahara just means change. When you read about it in yoga books or in Yoga Sutra books, it's usually translated as the change of consciousness going into meditation. And you never read about the change of consciousness coming out of meditation so that you can carry on with your, amazing daily life. It's also the change of being serious and then laughing. It's also the change of feeling, you really notice it when you start to cry and you're like, oh, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Maybe you don't do that. Most people do that, but hopefully you don't do that. Anyway, there's something about crying that's a little bit uncomfortable, even if it's like it's for a good reason or it's a good cry or whatever. There's still that little tapas in it. So anyway, it's either like starting to cry or you're done crying, starting to laugh, or you're finishing laughing. It's any change of consciousness. And on the, greater universal idea, it's just change. Black holes. I learned a cool thing about black holes this week. Black holes, even though they take what is around them and suck it in, and then we never see it again, but we might someday, but we haven't yet, they're not that strong. So the description was, instead of being like a powerful vacuum cleaner, they're more just like a Venus flytrap, where whatever goes near them might get sucked in. That made me honestly feel a lot better. Okay, because I like the planet and the solar system and all those stars out there in the Milky Way. But anyway, Pratyahara is change. That's all I wanted to tell you. And another good place to notice it is if you're falling asleep or waking up. Do you ever like start to fall asleep and you get that bounce where you're like, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to fall asleep in a minute. Get a little more comfortable and then you're in sleep. That's Pratyahara. Any change of consciousness is what Pratyahara is for like a working definition. And then sliding into meditation is what it's usually referred to in the Yoga Sutras. Dharana and Dhyana. Dharana is focus with effort, whether you're learning Sun Salutation A, or learning to ride a bike, or learning to drive a car. I remember driving my car. It wasn't my car, but we'll just call it my car. Anything that I drove, I thought was mine. I remember driving my car for the first time on the highway and just being like, I'm doing this. I am driving on the highway. And I really was doing it. I was on the highway for, 2 miles. And then I got off on a really easy off ramp. But I was all alone in the car on the highway for the first time. And it was really intense. And now I'm like having a conversation and, operating the windshield wipers, or, thinking about something, or singing a song, or eating a granola bar, whatever. Like now I multitask while I drive. And at one point in Vermont, they were going to pass a law that you couldn't look at your phone, you couldn't talk on your phone, you couldn't eat, and you couldn't put on makeup, and you couldn't drink anything. And I was like, you guys, how many of you driving to the State House in Montpelier had a sip of coffee or a sip of water 27 times before you got there? I don't think this is a good law. Anyway, it didn't pass. I just thought it was random. I'm okay that people aren't supposed to like be too distracted while they're driving. But I just thought drinking and eating, that was a little extreme. Okay, anyway, that doesn't matter. Dharana, Dhyana. Dharana is focus with effort. That's what we were talking about. So in meditation, which is what they're talking about in the Yoga Sutras, it is where you actually sit down or lie down or stand up or do whatever you do to meditate. You get into the proper position, you get into the proper atmosphere, and you create the proper atmosphere, and you carve out some time and you say, this is what I'm going to do. So it's that structure around it that helps you focus. And then mentally, you focus. And if your mind wanders, you just kind of come back to your focus, whatever that is. It could be a mantra. It could be listening to your breath. It could be that you're looking at something. It could be even reading. I'm not saying, well, reading is actually a light form of meditation, but I'm just saying, like whatever you're doing, if you're doing it with effort, that is dharana. If you're doing it, now you've sat there for a couple seconds, like a half a second. It only takes you a half a second of focus before you're just like cruising. And whatever your meditation practice is, you're just cruising on that. That's dhyana, where it just gets really easy. So it's still happening, but the effort has fallen away. And dharana and dhyana, usually we kind of go back like, oh, it's easy. I've been cruising on this for a while. And then it's like, oh, it's bumpy and it's clunky and I'm going to stay here and I'm going to stick with this. And then, it kind of goes back into ease. Maybe that doesn't happen to you. I hope it doesn't. Okay. Dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. That was it. We're at the end of the whole list. The top. We're at the top of the mountain. So samadhi is bliss, enlightenment, liberation, and there really words don't work for samadhi. Samadhi is a very, very, very internal experience, and also it has a lot. I think it has a lot to do with how we set ourselves up and kind of what we believe and what we're expecting. So there are some different texts that talk about samadhi. One says there's 12 levels. One says there's 6 levels. One says there's 3 levels. That's all cool. And then there's also just like, there's only one level of samadhi. What I like is this map that has kind of a scale. I always like the scale, right? So there's a scale of samadhi where you are completely out in the universe. Or I don't know if you're out in the universe, you're in the universe. There aren't words that work. You are unable to respond to the physical world. So whether you're in seated meditation and just gone, in these like states where everything kind of melts away or disappears, time also disappears. So in these intense states of samadhi, I'm sorry, I'm trying to use language. If in these intense states of samadhi, it might be that someone has to come and take care of you and check on you and make sure that everything is okay. You know the story. I'm not going to tell the whole story. You know the story about Buddha where he was sitting, or someone else, and they were sitting, and then a whole termite colony built a whole termite thing up around them. Maybe it wasn't Buddha, but I know that it was someone. And it might be in a couple of different stories. I kind of think it was someone and also Buddha. And it isn't that they just have this like, amazing power to ignore termites crawling on them. It's actually that they are not sensing their body. So that's one idea. And then another idea is walking samadhi. And I think that walking samadhi that's the samadhi that is my favorite. And walking samadhi means that you have an ongoing connection, an ongoing fountain of divine energy constantly supporting you, or constantly like you're always in touch, like none of it is lost on you. This is an amazing experience. This is so cool being alive. people can be in walking samadhi and make great pieces of art or shitty pieces of art, and they can get things done. They can carry out their responsibilities. They can still trip over something on the floor, like samadhi in regular life. And Swami Satchidananda was known as being in walking samadhi and not taking anything. Words don't really work, because I want to say not taking anything too seriously, and yet he did so many things that were serious and amazing. Anyway, samadhi, kind of out of the body or so deeply in, I don't know. And then walking samadhi, where still functioning, and once it's kind of like when people say, you know, like once you learn to ride a bike, you never forget. I think that's true if you learn to ride a bike when you're a kid. So maybe what we should change this saying to is anything you learn when you're a kid, you probably can still handle doing when you're an adult, if you choose to. I think walking samadhi is like, you learn these concepts of compassion and contentment, and I think really what we learn as we keep going is, what is our job? What are we going to do, and what are we just going to let kind of pass by, and we don't have to participate in it. One of my favorite yoga sutras that has nothing to do with the 8 limbs, well, maybe it does, but I don't know that it does, is just because you're good at something doesn't mean that it's your responsibility. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you have to do it. That's good. Anyway, so that's everything I know. Yamas, Niyamas, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Repeat after me. Yamas, Niyamas, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. And the yamas are ahimsa, satya, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. And the niyamas are socha, santosha, svadhyaya, tapas, Ishvara, pranidhana. There is one more thing that I wanted to share with you and read. Let's see if we can get the screen changed. So those are the yamas of Ashtanga Yoga and the niyamas of Ashtanga Yoga, and there's 5 of each. The yamas of Shiki Brahmana Upanishad. I did not rehearse this ahead of time. The yamas of Tri, Shiki, Brahmana, Upanishad. This ahimsa, non-harming, satya, truthfulness, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, chastity, daya, sympathy, arjava, rectitude, kashama, patience, kashama, patience, dritti, steadfastness, mita ahara, moderate diet, Socha Cleanliness. Completely different list, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10. And one of the Ashtanga Yoga niyamas is on this list as a yama. So I'm just going to read them to you again. Ahimsa, non-harming, satya, truthfulness, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, chastity, daya, sympathy, arjava, rectitude. I don't even know what rectitude means. Kashama, patience, dritti, steadfastness, mita ahara, moderate diet, saucha, Cleanliness. And these are the yamas of Mandala Brahmana Upanishad. Guru Bhakti, devotion to the teacher. Satya Marga Anuraki. Satya Marga Anuraki, adherence to the path of truth. Vatsu, enjoyment of the real as it is glimpsed in pleasurable experiences. I might have to get a tattoo of this. I don't have any tattoos. Vatsu, enjoyment of the real as it is glimpsed in pleasurable experiences. You know, I haven't read this list in so many years. I forgot about this, but that is absolutely my favorite yama. Tushti, contentment. Nisangata, non-attachment. Ekanata vasa, living in solitude. Mano nivritti, cessation of mental activity. Anabhilasha, non-attachment to the fruits of one's actions. Viraga, dispassion. Okay, here they are again. Guru Bhakti, devotion to the teacher. Satya Marga Anuraki, adherence to the path of truth. Vatsu, enjoyment of the real as it is glimpsed in pleasurable experiences. Tushti, contentment. Nisangata, non-attachment. Ekanata vasa, living in solitude. Mano nivritti, cessation of mental activity. Anabhilasha, I don't know how to say that. Non-attachments to the fruits of one's actions. Vairagya, dispassion. And here's some random yamas from some other Upanishads, and they're not listed with exactly where they came from. Upashama, calmness. Indriya Jaya, mastery of the senses. Shita Jaya, mastery of the cold. I was looking for this the other day. Shita Jaya, mastery of the cold. Lagu Ahara, scant diet. Nisangata, non-attachment. And then here, the niyamas of Ashtanga Yoga. Socha, cleanliness. Santosha, contentment. Tapas, purification through heat or discomfort. Svadhyaya, self-study or study of scripture. Ishvara, pranidhana, always with the divine, but we know it's really the underlying vibration of the universe. Niyamas from the Trishikhi Brahmana Upanishad. Tapas, asceticism. Samtushti, contentment. Asikya, affirmation. That's kind of cool. Dana, the existence of the divine. Ardhana, adoration. Aradhana, adoration. Vedanta, Vedanta Shravana, listening to the scriptures of Vedanta. Kri, modesty. Mati, conviction. Japa, recitation. Vrata, vow. Tapas, asceticism. Samtushti, contentment. Asikya, affirmation. Dana, existence of the divine. Aradhana, adoration. Vedanta Shravana, listening to the scriptures of Vedanta. Kri, modesty. Mati, conviction. Japa, recitation. Vrata, vow. The niyamas of Uddhava Gita, Socha, bodily and mental purity, japa, recitation, tapas, asceticism, homa, sacrifice. They don't mean sacrifice of animals. They mean sacrifice. They mean sacrifice of yourself, sacrifice of your own time to serve others, sacrifice of your own money to share. This sacrifice also has to do with non-hoarding. Anyway, homa, sacrifice. Shraddha, faith. Atiya, hospitality. I love that one. Arcana, worship. Trita, atana, pilgrimage. Para arta iha. Para arta iha. Yeah. Exertion for the good of others. I knew that one would come in there somewhere. Tushti, contentment. Acharya savana, service to one's teacher. And other niyamas from other Upanishads. Snana, bathing. Mauna, silence. M-A-U-N-A. M-A-U-N-A. Mauna is silence. Ekanta vasa, living in solitude. Nisangata, nisangata, non-contact. The other one translated that as non-attachment. Nisangata, non-attachment. This one is non-contact. That is kind of like brahmacharya, right? Like just let it, just don't participate. Anyway, non-contact, that's kind of cool. That's it. So those are just some extras that I have come across over time. Also, I did bring a book over here. I thought I wrote this book. It's called The Encyclopedic Dictionary of Yoga by Georg Fierstein. Okay, Georg Fierstein, brilliant, way over my head usually. But this, I can just kind of, look at, Nava gave me this beautiful, I don't know if you can see that that's gold. Isn't that beautiful? It's so pretty. Anyway, you can look one word up or not even look up a word, but just open it and read a word or two at a time. This was in the Smithsonian and the National Museum in New Delhi. And it's called The Emergence of Spirit and Matter, Shiva Purana, 1828. It's a detail from another painting. And then I brought the book out to show you the book, not to show you all these things, but look at, there's Tom and I on the beach in East Hampton when I was, I don't know, 33, just guessing on that. Oh, here's Milk Bubba's kuti. It's a painting. It's a painting of Milk Bubba on the outside of his kuti. But when I met him, he did not live in his kuti anymore. And here is the other picture in East Hampton. Me and Beryl. I like that our hands are the same. So fun. Okay, the Encyclopedic Dictionary of Yoga has lots of lists of all different words. And you could, you know, like if you ever want to just look one up, hopefully it's in there. That's it. Look, I still have this. I used to carry it back and forth to the yoga studio. And in it are all of my little notes. And Dave made a copy of a book, but the book is up on the altar right now. Anyway, he copied all my notes into a book for me. All right, I love you. I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.